Hello, you're looking beautiful. I'm glad you're here on my channel. Please don't forget to hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications. It would mean a lot to me. Now, let's begin our story. Enough with your histrionics, echoed from around the corner. Dana clutched the hem of her wedding gown, ensuring it wouldn't impede her steps, and cautiously peered around with one eye. On the other side, her fiancé Denis paced restlessly, massaging the bridge of his nose while clutching the phone to his ear. We both know the true purpose of this wedding. Have you lost your mind? What wedding night? I'll pretend to be intoxicated. But Dana's thoughts were elsewhere. It took her a moment to regain her composure, her realizations slowly sinking in. Throughout those 6 months, Denis had brazenly betrayed her trust. Straightening her posture, she held her head high and confidently emerged from around the corner. He failed to immediately recognize his fiancée, who stood before him, frozen in an intimidating stance like a predatory cat poised to attack. Denis muttered affectionate words into the phone, expressing his love and emphasizing the need for patience. As he turned around, he was taken aback by what he saw. "Dana?" he exclaimed, his voice filled with surprise and disbelief. Dana, she nodded, a mischievous smirk playing on her lips. Denis hurriedly ended the phone call and swiftly approached her. "Are you all right?" he reassured her, his voice filled with concern. "Tell me everything. I'm here to calm you down." "Look, that's not what you mean," Denis pleaded, attempting to embrace his fiancée. However, he was met with a forceful push to the chest, causing him to stagger back a few steps. Dana narrowed her eyes as she approached him. Denis cowardly retreated further. She's just an acquaintance," Denis stammered. "She's worried about me, concerned that I rushed into this marriage." "Worried?" Dana raised her eyebrows and theatrically pouted. "Well, call her and let her know there won't be a wedding." Denis cast a desperate glance at Dana, but she swiftly made her way towards the reception hall. Spotting her father amidst the crowd of guests, her pillar of strength and reliability, she sought refuge in his embrace. Daddy," Dana cried out, clinging to her father's chest. "I won't marry Denis. There will be no wedding." Her father, Arkady, pulled her away and hissed, "What do you mean? It's not happening." "What kind of game is this, Dana? Compose yourself. The registration is about to begin any minute now." "Dad." Dana's eyes widened, glistening with tears. "Denis has someone else. He's cheating on me. I overheard him on the phone." She looked at her father, hoping that he would unravel the situation. But Arkady Viktorovich scanned the faces of the guests, found the visibly nervous groom and growled, his bushy eyebrows furrowing deeply, "I'll deal with him, Dana. Later. After the wedding." "What?" Dana recoiled from him as if he were an enemy. "I said it. There is no wedding." "Yes, there is," he insisted. Her incandescent gaze shifted to her mother, but she merely shrugged, unwilling to engage in an argument with her husband. He held the reins of the family, making all the decisions himself for both her and their daughter. "He ran away," Dana blurted out, distancing herself from her parents. Startled, she bumped into someone and hastily made her way toward the exit. She had no idea where to go. Dana lacked money, a phone, and her friends had all remained at the registry office. However, she knew one thing for certain: if her father resolved to marry her off, he would see it through, regardless of her desires. The elaborate train of her wedding dress, meticulously crafted by a team of skilled artisans at an exorbitant cost, clung to everything in its path. As Dana heard her fiancé's voice trailing behind her, she darted into an alley, circled around a building, maneuvered 3 yards, and emerged onto the road. "Dana." His voice rang out, disturbingly close. Panicking, she turned her head and spotted a parked cab nearby. Swiftly, she ducked into the back seat, struggling to fit her voluminous dress while leaving the trailing train outside. She managed to pull it into the cabin and tucked it beneath her as best as she could. Just as she saw Denis sprinting past, she cowered down. A delicate cough emanated from the front seat. The driver turned to his unusual passenger and exclaimed wryly, "Well, I've only seen this in movies. Why are you staring at me like I'm a museum artifact? Start your old jalopy," Dana retorted, her voice tense. "I'm not working today," the taxi driver replied, continuing to quietly munch on a pie he had purchased from a local bakery. Dana let out a frustrated sigh and buried her face in the voluminous folds of her wedding dress spread out on the car seat. If she stepped out now, Denis would spot her, grab her, and drag her back to the registry office. As her father's voice echoed through the slightly ajar window, she turned to the curious taxi driver. "Where did she go?" her father had asked. "You ran away from the wedding?" The driver pointed out the obvious. Dana's voice turned desperate and pitiful. "Please, can we get out of here?" "Where are you headed?" "Maybe we could go together." The driver smiled, finishing the last of his pie before starting the engine. "I don't think so. I have a long way to go. I'm headed to another city." "That's a shame," Dana replied. "I was hoping to leave the country." "Is it really that bad?" Dana slumped back into her seat, tugging at her hair which looked like a beehive. "It's terrible." "Have you ever been cheated on, especially on the eve of your wedding?" The driver raised an eyebrow, alternating between the road and Dana in the rearview mirror. "Not like this, but I'm not married yet. That's why I'm leaving." "Are you getting married?" "I am." The driver took out a box with a ring, smiled thoughtfully, and then shoved it back into his pocket. "So where do you want me to take you?" Dana shook her head and dropped her gaze. "I don't have anywhere to go. I'm an orphan. I lived with my fiancé, and he has all my things. If I go back, I'll be in great danger. He would kill me." Dana spun a web of lies so intricate that she momentarily convinced herself of their truth. Of course, Dennis would never be capable of murder, but her father was a different story altogether. "Is your father a criminal?" the driver asked. "Yes, he is," Dana replied, her voice menacing. "It's better not to mess with him." The driver was taken aback. "You wouldn't think it to look at him. And who's the other guy? His father?" Dana nodded, her voice dropping to a whisper. "He's worse." The driver was at a loss. "What am I supposed to do with you?" Dana scanned her surroundings, and a stray thought popped into her head. She lifted her dress hem and squeezed between the seats, stiffening at one point before bursting out laughing and accidentally bumping the driver's shoulder with her forehead. "What are you doing?" he exclaimed, pushing her arm. "You're blocking my view with your dress." "I knew I should have ordered it without hoops," Dana giggled, pushing the hem and train under the dashboard. "Otherwise, I would have had to escape in a truck. Where would I find one?" "Hi. What's your name?" Dana asked the driver, flashing a smile as she lied about her own name being Masha. "My name is Vladimir, but you can call me Vova or Volodya," he replied, relaxing as he met her puzzled gaze. Dana proposed an idea. "Why don't you take me with you to that city? I've never been there before. While you and your fiancé spend some time together, I can explore the city and enjoy the sights. I'll even go to a cafe if you lend me some money." Volodya hesitated but eventually relented. "All right, Masha, but behave yourself. I have enough problems without you. I hope my fiancé understands when I explain everything to her." Dana beamed at him, thrilled with the plan. "Don't worry, I won't let you down." During the first few kilometers of their trip, Dana was engrossed in observing her new acquaintance's profile. Although he tried to discourage her curiosity with occasional questioning glances, Dana remained unembarrassed. "You seem too happy for a jilted bride," he said, breaking the silence. "Did you never love your fiancé? What was the point of the wedding?" "Dennis courted me beautifully, gave me gifts and flowers. We traveled abroad 3 times in 6 months. On my birthday, he even hired a helicopter and proposed to me in the sky." Dana reminisced about the romantic proposal. She was thrilled at the time and didn't hesitate to accept. "I see, so it was all about gifts and luxury. What about love? Did you plan to marry for a reason?" Vova mocked, squinting his eyes. "Me? Plan? No way." Dana began to mention something about an unhappy orphan, but then stopped abruptly, and Vova grinned widely. "On the contrary, he planned to have someone like you. If he truly loved you, he wouldn't have cheated. When you love someone, there is no room for another person," Vova said supportively. Dana snorted but didn't stay offended for long. Within a few minutes, she found herself gazing at Vova again. He was in high spirits, tapping the steering wheel in rhythm with the music, singing along and jerking his head. Watching him, Dana smiled. Vova noticed this and was about to say something when he suddenly furrowed his brows and muttered, "Do you hear that? Something's knocking. Can you hear it?" He turned off the music and slowed down, listening intently while staring at Dana. "Can you hear it?" The knocking. Dana's heart pounded so loudly that it drowned out all the outside noise. Her ears perked up, and she held her breath as she looked into Volodya's gray eyes, feeling as though she was staring into an abyss. It could have been hunger that was affecting her judgment. She had starved herself for 3 days to fit into her fancy wedding dress. Now, in her state of exhaustion, she began to hallucinate, finding Volodya, the cab driver, insanely handsome. "We need to stop somewhere," Volodya said, breaking their eye contact and scanning the road for a suitable place to pull over. Ahead of them, a roadside cafe appeared, with a row of huge trucks parked nearby. Volodya pulled over to the side, jumped out of the car, and peered under the hood. Tana couldn't sit still. She needed to stretch her legs. She crawled out of the car with difficulty, her dress tangled around her, and was immediately drawn to the mouth-watering aroma of shashlik. "Are you hungry?" Volodya asked, glancing over at her without straightening his back. Dana didn't need any convincing, she was starving. Volodya handed her his bank card, saying, "Go get something to eat. Looks like we'll be stuck here for a while." Dana didn't waste any time. She wrapped the hem of her dress around her elbow and stepped into the atmosphere of the roadside cafe, where she immediately caught the attention of a group of men. As Dana walked past their table, one of the truckers slicked his tongue and exclaimed, "Look at her." Another asked, "Where did such a beauty come from?" Someone even whistled at her back, and then they all started cackling. Dana's unexpected appearance amused the group, and one of the truckers jumped up and chased after her. At the bar, the man behind it almost licked his lips as he gazed at her plunging cleavage. "Hello," he said, and Dana interrupted him by shoving a bank card under his nose. "Stop staring. Better make me a kebab." "I'm starving. Make it quick." Meanwhile, the trucker who had chased after her leaned on the counter with one elbow and devoured her with his gooey stare. Dana noticed remnants of food stuck to his mustache and turned away squeamishly. "Where did you lose your fiancé, bride?" he asked. "No ring on his finger, shabby clothes. Did you run away, or did he dump you?" "What business is it of yours?" Dana snapped back. "Go eat your stew and don't even look at me." The trucker was taken aback, and his eyes bulged. He heard the loud laughter of his companions and turned red with anger. "What are you doing?" he shouted, taking Dana by the elbow. "Haven't you been taught to communicate with people? I'll teach you now." His two friends stepped closer and watched from a distance. Dana flinched and pulled her hand away, realizing the situation in the cafe was getting dangerous. She rushed for the exit, sweeping away everything in her path, and heard loud shouts behind her. "Hey! Where are you going? Catch her! Catch her!" Seeing Vova in the same place was a delight for Dana. She rushed towards him like a beacon of light in the dark. Upon reaching him, she almost threw herself onto the cab driver's neck. "Vova, we need to leave quickly." "There are 6 of them," she said urgently. Vova, who was confused, emerged from under the car hood and stood up straight. "What do you mean?" he asked. "Truck drivers. They harassed me and one even grabbed me. Please, Vova, let's find another place before they come after me." Dana's expression changed. She remembered something important and quickly headed back towards the cafe. "Stop. Where are you going?" Vova pulled her arm, but he miscalculated his strength and inadvertently pinned Dana to his chest. "Let me go." "I left your card there," Dana protested. "Get in the car," he said firmly. "I'll take care of everything myself." "But there are 6 of them. They'll beat you so badly that your own mother wouldn't recognize you," she warned. "I have no mother. I'm an orphan, just like you," Vova replied, pushing Dana towards the car, but she refused to budge. "If you don't get in now, I'll leave you here. You'll probably find another ride into town," he threatened. Dana frowned and released her hand, obediently taking the front seat. As she nervously fidgeted with her dress, Vova slammed the hood shut and disappeared into the cafe. The wait was excruciatingly long. Dana kept her gaze fixed on the entrance, imagining worst-case scenarios. At one point, she was so anxious about Vova that she couldn't resist grabbing the doorknob. Just then, 2 people emerged from the cafe. One was Vova, alive and unharmed, carrying a plate in his hands. The other person, however, was unrecognizable to Dana. Compared to the strong, athletic build of Vova, he seemed like a faded, blurry figure. As Vova opened the door, he presented her with a steaming plate of kebab and fragrant pickled onions. Dana gobbled the first piece of meat without even chewing before shoving the second into her mouth and muttering with a full mouth, "Thank you." Vova then snatched a ring of onion from her plate and retreated back under the hood where his new friend was already working on the problem. After resolving the issue, Volodya handed over some cash to the trucker and took the driver's seat. He then commented, while scribbling a message to someone in passing, that Masha had been mistreated by the guys and her arrogant attitude was uncalled for. He questioned where she learned such impudence, wondering if her wealthy fiancé had spoiled her in just 6 months. He asked about her past, her previous profession, and what she did before meeting her fiancé. Vova placed his phone into the hole next to the gear knob and turned his gaze to Dana, raising an eyebrow questioningly. "Where did you work before?" he asked. "At a club." Dana blurted out the first thing that came to mind. "You danced? Stripping?" Vova randomly guessed, catching Dana off guard. She giggled at the thought, recalling the nights she spent with her friends in clubs. She did dance, but not on a pole. Despite lying, Dana held her ground against Vova's intense and worried gaze. His genuine surprise was worth the deception. Vova continued, "So that's where you picked up this bandit? And venture?" He rubbed his forehead, regretting that he had gotten mixed up with an immoral girl. Vova then abruptly moved from his seat, declaring that he would meet Natasha alone. He was afraid that Dana would say too much, and Natasha would get the wrong idea. He would give her the ring and get the long-awaited consent. After that, he would take Dana back to where he picked her up, and he would continue on his own. The story continues. Subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so that you don't miss the next part. Also, check out the link below this video. The next part might already be out.